If you're scared, pull the covers up tight. Guys, today's horror movie, Cobweb, is here. Here he comes. The story begins. Little Peter is sleeping. Suddenly, strange noises come from the room. Terrified, Peter turns on the lamp. He realizes the sound is coming from behind the wall. Peter tries knocking on the wall. Shockingly, something behind the wall responds. Scared, Peter runs to his parents' room. He tells his mother what happened. His mother comes to the wall and listens closely. She doesn't hear anything, so she comforts Peter. This house is over 10 years old. Noises inside the walls are normal. She tells Peter not to worry. The scene shifts. Because Peter is isolated by classmates at school, he chooses to stay alone in the classroom during P.E. The new teacher, Miss Devine, asks Peter why he won't go out. Peter just says he's in a bad mood. Soon, night falls. The wall makes noises again, even more terrifying. The wall calls out Peter's name. Peter fearfully calls his father, but strangely, just like with his mother, as soon as his father enters, the sound disappears. But Peter insists he definitely heard noises inside the wall. His father guesses it might be rats causing trouble. So early the next morning, father takes Peter to get cinnamon-scented rat poison. Father warns Peter, even though the poison smells like cinnamon, he absolutely cannot eat it as a snack. Peter quietly keeps this in mind. He thought the matter was over, but the next night, the wall actually speaks again. Peter was originally very scared, but the wall tells Peter it means no harm. And since Peter doesn't have many friends at school, he desperately craves someone to care about him. So he chats with the wall all night. The next day, in arts and crafts class, Peter draws the best-looking pumpkin in the class. This earns praise from his teacher, Miss Devine, but it sparks jealousy in the bully, Brian. After class, Brian pushes Peter from behind, and he stomps on Peter's pumpkin. Kind-hearted Peter dares not tell his parents. He can only hide under his covers and cry. The wall asks Peter what happened.
Are you okay? Why are you crying? Did someone hurt you?
After learning the truth, it suggests Peter learn to fight back, and fight back 10 times harder. Just like that. Under the wall's influence, Peter secretly follows the bully after school. Then, while the bully is going downstairs, he shoves the bully down. This results in the bully breaking both of his legs. Naturally, Peter's parents are called in. His father scolds Peter harshly at home. He says that since he was young, he never advocated solving problems with violence. Finally, father decides to send Peter to the basement to reflect. At the mention of the basement, Peter's eyes are filled with terror. Mother takes out the key and routinely turns on the light, and Peter is driven down there by his parents.
We're doing this because we love you. Because we love you.
Then the two turn and leave. Peter is locked in the dark basement just like that. Peter holds his head and sobs, feeling resentment towards his extreme parents. Just then, Peter discovers a chain. He lifts a wooden crate, finding the crate was hiding a dungeon. Peter tries to inspect the dungeon, realizing something terrible seems to be imprisoned inside. After being locked underground for 3 days and 3 nights, Peter is finally released. But his father is still scolding Peter, asking if he reflected. Peter says he knows he was wrong. This makes the couple feel very relieved. But when night comes, Peter still goes to the wall, trying to communicate with the voice inside. He tells it everything that happened in the past few days. The voice inside the wall tells Peter, never trust his parents. They are demons. She was locked inside the wall by Peter's parents. Peter says he wants to see her. The voice tells Peter that under the wall, there is a hole, and he can see her there. So Peter sticks his head in. Peter, terrified, asks who exactly is in there. The voice says she is Peter's sister, Sarah. She says their parents are demons. They locked her in the wall just because she was a girl, and the missing children in town were all killed by their parents. Peter clearly doesn't believe it, so Sarah tells him the bodies were buried by their parents in the backyard pumpkin patch. Peter can't believe any of this, so he hides under his covers. But soon, knocking sounds come from outside. As the door slowly opens, there is nothing outside. Then his mother appears, standing eerily at the doorway. He wakes up with a start. It turns out everything just now was a nightmare. However, Peter does indeed start to suspect his parents. Deep in the night again, Sarah tells Peter if he moves the clock in his parents' bedroom blocking her, he can help her escape the wall. But Peter doesn't believe her. He is more inclined to believe his parents locked her up for a reason. So Sarah tells Peter to check the pumpkin patch, and he'll know if she's telling the truth. Just then, his mother calls out from behind him.
Peter! What are you doing?
I was thinking that, I know I can't go trick-or-treating.
Peter finally believes his sister. He picks up the house phone and secretly calls Miss Devine. But just as Miss Devine answers, Peter's mother is already standing behind him. She angrily drags Peter back to his room. Then she demands to know what Peter is doing. Just then, she suddenly spots that hole in the wall.
What is that?
It's nothing!
Then his mother starts muttering to herself like she's gone mad.
What did she tell you? What did she tell you?
Late at night, Peter quietly opens his door. He finds his mom and dad seem to be plotting something.
I know you're awake, son. You get a good night's sleep. When I get home tomorrow, you'll help me out in the garden. There's a problem we need to take care of.
Father takes Peter to tidy up the garden. He tells Peter, the pumpkins in the garden have caught the black rot. If they aren't disposed of, the consequences will be severe. This seems to be a warning to Peter, not to try anything else.
What the fuck?
Soon, it is evening. The family is having dinner. The parents are eating with gusto, but Peter hasn't touched a bite. Mother even says today's soup is very sweet, but she clearly didn't add anything. Just then, Father notices Peter's food. It's untouched. Suddenly, he remembers the rat poison in the storage room. He has a bad feeling. He grabs Peter and asks what he did.
You hurt my sister.
He hurriedly tells his wife to call for help. The next second, his stomach starts to cramp. It's all over. The phone line was cut by Peter. Then Father dies right there at the dinner table. Seeing this, Mother grabs a kitchen knife and starts chasing her son. Just as she is about to catch him, Mother's stomach also starts to cramp. Mother falls down the stairs to her death. Peter seizes the chance to get the keys. Peter thinks it's all over. As long as he releases his sister, he can have a happy life. Peter doesn't think twice and unlocks the door with the key. Peter is scared and runs back to his bedroom to block the door. A terrifying laugh comes from outside. She isn't a sister. She is a monster. Long-term life in dark oppression has caused her to mutate. Just as Peter doesn't know what to do, the bully from before comes for revenge. He called his older brother over. They walk to the door, and it opens automatically. They don't find anyone home, so they resort to smashing up the room. Just as Pighead is smashing the piano, he discovers a lock of hair with a spider on it. Confused, he steps forward to check. His scream attracts his partner's attention. At the same time, the bully sees Peter's dead mother. The next second, Rabbit runs out in terror. Then something seems to grab him, and he can't break free no matter what. The little boy is terrified and wants to leave, but he's already here. There's no way back. Now only the intruder upstairs in the cat mask is left alive. He looks down to check the situation. Peter sees this from under the bed. Sarah is slowly approaching him. Then, she climbs onto the bed. Peter is too terrified to make a sound, but a lock of hair falls down in front of him.
When you were born, they were so happy. When I was born, they screamed. trick or treat.
Sarah believes Peter stole her life, so she intends to lock him in the dungeon too, to let him taste what she endured all these years. The scene shifts. Miss Devine arrives at Peter's home again. She is still worried about Peter. She pushes the door open. She discovers the mess on the floor. She realizes something is wrong. She wants to call the police, but the hair on the ground catches her attention. She tries to flee in panic, but the door won't open. At the same time, she hears Peter's cry for help. She rushes to Peter's bedroom. There, she finds Peter, so she decisively starts smashing the wall. But Sarah is about to catch up. Miss Devine rushes out, but Peter is grabbed and dragged back by Sarah. He is thrown into the deep pit in the basement. This is where Sarah was once trapped. Immediately after, Sarah crawls towards Peter. Miss Devine didn't run away alone. She turns back to help. But just as she reaches the stairs, Sarah slashes her. Miss Devine backs against the wall in terror. She thought she was going to die. He manages to pin Sarah down. Miss Devine fights back with all her might. Sarah is knocked into the dungeon. Peter seizes the chance to lock Sarah up. Just when Peter thinks it's all over, Sarah speaks one last time.
Do you really think this is gonna keep me down here?
From that night on, Peter feels like the monster is always by his side.
Or so.